Deputy Alex Collins leads us through the events that end up with the final confrontation with ex-LAPD officer Christopher Dorner.
When we were walking up, it was myself, King, and then MacKay was behind King. So King and MacKay kind of break off from me to go talk to the two narc guys at the front bumper of the Dodge Durango and tell them what we're doing. King tells them that the SWD units had taken off down the road, continued, and we're going to check this cabin and mention something about the tire tracks. As I continue, I don't stop with them. I continue to walk along the roadway, just kind of looking down at the footprints, and then as I'm getting closer to the tire tracks. As I get closer to the tire tracks, that's when I break that first plane of the living room window where Dorner was. He was offset, backed up from the window a little bit in the living room, and as soon as I break that plane in the window, he starts shooting at me.
Welcome to Game of Crimes. What about the 8th, going into the 8th? Because, I mean, the weather's going to start deteriorating, right? Things start getting a little dicey.
Yeah, so we're doing that. We're doing, we were setting up grid searches, searching cabins, because there are so many vacation cabins up there. They were going up there looking for any signs of forced entry. If there was anything, whether it was an overtime team, a patrol team, they were contacting our specialized enforcement division. They would go up with armor and check the house and do that.
So at that time of year, how many of those houses are those all people's like second homes, or the majority of those rentals? Give us an idea for that area. What, when we talk about all of these different places, because I'm looking at a couple of these. Over 400 cabins were searched on one day, 200 on another. I mean, that's a lot of territory to cover. What are most of these? Vacation, rental, seasonal? What are they?
Yeah, especially in that area, they're going to be all pretty much, probably 95% rentals, because they're right there at the ski resort, and that's a pretty high area for vacation rentals for the ski season, and then in the off season they do like the downhill mountain bike stuff. So a lot of vacation rentals.
Wow. So are you and your partner, you guys are just tied at the hip basically during this whole time?
Yeah, absolutely. King and I were doing everything we can. Any leads that we can follow up, we're setting up, just kind of doing the planning aspect of it for the grid searches, kind of the graveyard shifts, what areas that they're responsible for, and then give them and like, hey, this is, from this street to this street, this is your beat for the next 12 hours.
Wow. So how did you guys work the staffing and stuff? Were you guys on 12-hour shifts, or were you just working until you just couldn't work anymore, get a few hours sleep and back out again? How did they handle that?
Yeah, so we were just doing 12 on, 12 off.
Now, were you staying at the command center? Or were you guys going back home? How were you guys handling that part?
Some of the guys were going home. Our SED teams, they were staying at one of the local hotels, and then one of the vacation rental companies reached out to us, and they said, hey, there's several families that want to offer their vacation rentals to you guys, so you guys can go could sleep there for the night. So we did that, and it was actually kind of nice. We stayed there at one of the cabins a couple nights, and we were able to wash our clothes and get some decent sleep, and we didn't have to commute with that snow being so bad. And then it was good too that we're in the area just in case something did happen.
Yeah, because I'm reading, like I said, some of these reports, and they're talking about knee-high snow in some of these areas. I mean, you guys got people are just freaking trudging. You think you're with San Bernardino County? It sounds more like you're with the Alaska State Troopers, going through the mountains up there.
Yeah, it was bad. I know, I think the skiers, the snowboard shots and Kmart's, all the deputies that were from our valley stations, they went and bought a bunch of long johns and gloves and all that kind of stuff from there.
That's pretty cool that the community came together like that and offered up places for you guys to stay. That's very admirable.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it was really nice that they did that for us.
Well, you were saying that the folks up there, you guys got a really good relationship, though, I think, with a lot of the folks in Big Bear and that Bear Lake, area, right? I mean, they pretty supportive of you guys, and you've got a good relationship with them because they really depend upon, you're the only ones out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Very law enforcement friendly, great community. They're very supportive of me, and then, uh, me coming back to work, and then Jeremiah McKay's family as well.
So things kind of stall though for a while, right? So for a couple, 3 days, it's like no sightings, no nothing, right? I mean, you're just up there chasing things. I mean, at what point do you think we've lost this guy? He's no longer up here.
Yeah, so probably like 3 days into it, I'm like, with all, as bad as the snow was, I was like, man, this guy, he probably took off because we had our aviation units up as well. The sheriff's department, we have several helicopters and stuff like that, and fixed wing airplanes, and but then with the snow, we couldn't fly those anymore. We have bloodhounds as well. They followed a couple cents, but with the snow, just kind of made it hard. The cold weather. Um, so I figured, I'm like, hey, this guy probably took off in the mountains because people get lost up here all the time, and didn't have the proper cold weather gear, and we're gonna find him when the snow melts in April, dead. So that was kind of my thought for a little bit. Or he had someone that was helping him, and they picked him up and drove him out of
He's
the
out of the
area.
area.
Yep.
Yeah. So, because the other thing too, it ratchets things up. Because on February 10th, Villagrosa, who was the LA mayor, they put out a $1 million reward. They put out a warrant, no bail warrant. So he's been charged now with the attempted murder of 3 other police officers, including a Riverside police officer who was wounded. With Crane was killed, also charged with that. They also said he opened fire on the 2 LAPD officers. So this they've got the warrants in hand. This guy's the most wanted person in the United States at that point. And this is the 11th. So this whole thing starts. I mean, you find the truck on the 7th, and now it's the 11th. It's 4 days in. So, what happens during those 4 days? I mean, do you feel like you made any progress at all, or is it just kind of like you can only keep that heightened state of alert and that adrenaline up for so long before you just kind of like, man, this is just exhausting?
Yeah, it was really frustrating with that. And then I think so it started on Thursday. I think on like Sunday or Monday, we start kind of scaling everything back. We moved the command post to the station, which is probably about a mile away down the road. So we scale that back. We start sending a lot of the patrol guys back to their normal duties. Our SED teams, we have one on standby, one day shift, one graveyard, and then the rest of the teams went back to their headquarters and kind of would handle daily duties with that.
Well, how are your communications during that time in the mountainous area there? Did you guys have good comms?
Yeah, our comms weren't too bad. So again, like we kept everything in-house, just one of those big reasons with communications and tactics. So, and we had enough personnel to handle the searches and the equipment and stuff like that. So we kept our agency on the search. A lot of people were offering help and everything, but we wanted to keep that in-house, at least during that manhunt in Big Bear, since it was San Bernardino County in our area. And then, so that wasn't too bad. But yeah, we had some leads that we would follow up on some cabins and stuff. But yeah, our SED teams would go out there. They, hike out. One of my brothers was on the team, and I think they lost radio comms with them for several hours. And that was, I remember me and my older brother Ryan are at the command post. We're kind of stressing out a little bit. But finally they made their way back, and they were okay.
Well, so this we're all leading up to. So that was Monday, February 11th, 2013. And now, like you say, it was like one day off. They scaled back, which they didn't know, but they scaled back a day too early because this is when shit hits the fan, is on February 12th, 2013. So let's finish up the 11th, right? So that's a Monday. They're scaling things back. You and your partner working stuff. What are you doing on the 11th going into the 12th? I mean, have you guys thought, hey, this is the end of it, pretty much over, he's gone?
Yeah, so on the 11th, we went to King and I went to the local, like the water district and the electric companies, and we were looking for any spike in usage on a cabin, like a dormant cabin for maybe several months. Dorner might have been hiding in, and then so we got that list, and we found a cabin, and it was kind of in the area where we thought a couple days prior, our bloodhounds followed a scent that we thought in that direction, and it was a cabin kind of out in the middle of nowhere, and had a really big spike in water. We're like, oh, that was dormant for several months, and then had a spike in water around that same time. So we're like, man, this is a pretty good lead. So we contact our aviation unit, King and I do, and we're like, hey, we need to get some aerial photos because now the snow had stopped. We need to get some aerial photos of this house so we can brief up our SED team so they can go check this cabin. Since it was going to be, they could only drive a certain distance and they were going to hike in the rest of the way. So King and I, we meet them. Big Bear has a small little airport. We meet our aviation unit at the airport, and they're like, hey, we can only take one of you guys up in the helicopter with us. So King and I are arguing about who gets to go in the helicopter, and I think we ended up playing like rock paper scissors or something. So
And who won?
I won.
What did you win with? Rock, paper, or scissors?
I don't remember. I just remember I got to go in the helicopter and take these photos and stuff. And then afterwards, several months after, I told Jeremy, I'm like, man, you should have taken that helicopter ride because I got shot the next day and I got to ride in the helicopter 2 days in a row. So yeah, I'm like, oh, you should have taken that flight for the photographs. So,
Dark humor.
yeah. But so we go find this cabin. I felt bad too for these guys that had to hike in there. So they go and they spend like pretty much most of the day hiking to this cabin, and it ends up being a broken water pipe. And it was just kind of that same thing over and over again, just kind of a dead end lead.
Yeah, but that's the tough part about doing so. You just gotta just grind it through these leads. I mean, even it's like you got to plow through the records. And I thought that's actually a really good idea because if somebody's going to stay in a cabin, what are they going to do? They're going to have to use water or something, or maybe turn on, heat or something like that. You look for electricity.
Yep.
Did any of those leads that you generated at all, were any of those any places that Dorner had been?
No. Mm-mm.
Were they around the same area?
Yeah, in the general area of where he was at.
Okay, so but that's what I'm saying. That kind of kept you in the area, though. It's like you weren't zeroed in on him, but you guys were staying in the area. But so that's the 11th. You take the helicopter. Let's talk about the big day, which is obviously going to be February 12th. That's Tuesday, February 12th, 2013. So how's this day start off for you?
I think it was our captain was talking shit about how we haven't found this guy yet, and he's a really funny guy, but he's just always yelling, you guys suck, how come you haven't found this guy? Just making jokes and stuff like that.
What have you done for me today?
Yeah. So we end up, someone calls in, it was a resident up there, and I'm trying to remember correctly, but I think she said that she saw Dorner on the 7th walking in the neighborhood carrying a duffel bag and walking down this street into the forest area. And she waited, 4 days or 5 days to call because she was scared or didn't put it together or anything like that. So King and I were at the office, and again, like I said, I was out of tired of ruining my dress shoes, so I wasn't going to wear a suit that day, and neither did Jeremy. So we wore just kind of BDU pants and boots and our department polos and our green. I just got this new, it was a 511 Sabre jacket that I freaking loved. It had a nice hood and everything like that. So I was wearing that.
So for the folks that don't know, Tactical 511 is a clothing brand really designed for first responders, military, cops and stuff. They've got a lot of good stuff. A lot of people get gear from that. But give us an idea, though, about what you carry with you. So you geared up with your BDUs and stuff. So what are you carrying with you now? Everything from, weapons and body armor and stuff. How are you outfitted when you go out that day?
Yeah, so I was wearing just BDU, and then I had a tack vest that I recently put together just on my own. Active shooter stuff was really big. We were getting a bunch of active shooter training from the department. So I wanted to get a vest together. It was just a Molly, just a Condor vest. I was, again, broke deputy with a brand new baby, so I did not have the $1,000 for the rifle plates. So I just had, my brother gave me an old vest with soft body armor. So I put that in there. And then, which is better than detectives don't even wear vests pretty much anyway. So at least I had something on.
You had something.
Yeah, but it had rifle magazines, pistol magazines, and then some extra slug rounds for our shotgun. And then again, just I had just gotten a new pistol. It was a Springfield Armory XDM. I just gotten it for Christmas, so I had that on with me.
So let folks know what a Springfield XDM is. What caliber is it? How much does it hold?
Yeah, it was a 9mm, and it holds 19 plus 1, 19 rounds.
Plus one
in the chamber.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so. There's always kind of that debate too, right? Between should we go 9s, should we go 40s? 10mm if you're the Smith and Wesson. So, What did you? I mean, was there a weapon you preferred? I mean, obviously you were wanting to get on SED. You had to be training with weapons and stuff. Did you like that weapon? Would you have preferred something different?
Yeah, so I like that one. Our SED team, they're the only ones that can carry it, but they're issued the Kimber 1911s. They're specially made for our team. They're all
Nice 45s.
yeah, 45 serialized numbers with SBSD, 1 through however many. So it's one of the cool things to be over there. So you see someone carrying a 1911, they're on your SED team.
Cool.
It's also a fashion statement too. It's like I drive a Porsche. What do you drive? A Volkswagen. No,
Yeah.
I got a 1911.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I like the Springfield. So the department issues Glocks, 9 or 45, so you can carry that, or you can buy your own personal weapon if you choose to do that. It just has to get inspected by the range, with the trigger pull and everything meets the specifications for that. But I like the XDM because it had like the polished steel slide on it, so I thought it looked cool, and it holds 20 rounds.
Sold some ammo. You get that, and carry 3 mags with you, man. You got close to 80 rounds you can throw down range. But somebody else I know that's on this podcast loved to carry a polished little weapon.
What are you talking about?
Murph.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Smith and Wesson happens to sit in
recollection.
the museum somewhere in Las Vegas.
Oh yeah. That's a perfect undercover gun because it's stainless steel and it doesn't have a hammer. So if you sweat on it, it doesn't rust, and when you pull it out from under your shirt, it doesn't snag. But Alex, you were talking about your body armor there, and you had soft body armor, and I don't want to get ahead of us here, but everybody just keep that in mind when the first shot is fired, when we get to the actual incident here, because your body armor, as nice as a comfortable feeling as it gives you, it wouldn't have helped anyway. So we'll get to that point.
Yep.
Yeah. So you guys start off, your captain's giving you ration of shit. You guys gear up and you head out. Just walk us through the day now.
Yeah, so we go and we follow up that lead. That's kind of in the late morning. I think we went and talked to that lady, checked the area where she said he went, met up with my brother Ryan, who was working patrol watch commander that day. We walk around the snow for a little bit, get wet, and then we head back to the station to go grab some lunch. So we're sitting at the station in the detective office, and then dispatch puts out that a lady had just called in that her and her husband were arrived at their vacation condo, and Dorner was inside, pointed his rifle at him, tied him up, put dish rags in their mouth, and stole the keys to their brand new maroon colored Nissan Rogue and fled.
Well, there was one problem though. Let's
Yeah.
typical cop, man. You're just facts only. Let's not gloss over a lot of the story. The part of the story was this was a new Nissan Rogue. In fact, 2 things. It was so new you didn't even know what it looked like, so you had to Google it. And the other one too, that was one of the first times where they had the keyless start.
Yeah.
So Dorner was flummoxed by the fact, here's a guy, a Navy guy, couldn't untie a boat, and now he can't start a vehicle. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so he took the keys, couldn't figure out how to start the car with the push-the-button start. So he had to run back inside the house or the condo, take the dish rag out of the wife's mouth, and she goes and ask her how to start the car, and she goes, "Oh, you just push that button on the dash." So he ended up leaving the residence without putting the dish rag back in her mouth. So she was able to get her phone. He threw him under the couch when he left and called 911. But it took her about 30 minutes to make that phone call.
But you guys got some good intelligence now. You know what he's driving. You know what color it is. Even though it's 30 minutes, where based on where that cabin was at, where can he go in that 30 minutes?
He can make it pretty good. I mean, like to get to the bottom of the mountain with the road conditions like that, it'd probably take him a little over an hour. But he can travel some distance, and then get to like kind of a less populated area where someone's not going to spot that Nissan Rogue.
But there aren't that many ways in and out of a mountain area like that, are there?
No, there's 3 major ways out of three ways out of Big Bear. It's Highway 38, and then which is the back way, and then Highway 330, which we call it the front way, which is the more popular way to go. It leads you right down to the freeway. The Highway 38 it drops you off to the city of Yucaipa.
Now, back in that condo, though, where he tied up that couple, he was getting ready for a firefight, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. He was in there the entire time that we were out there looking for him. He had his 308 sniper rifle, had a table moved up towards the window with a direct view right to our command post at the golf course.
Yeah. How close? How close was he with that 308 to the command center from where he was at? How close was he to the command center?
Maybe about 100, 200 yards.
So, what kind of a shot would that have been for somebody with a scoped 308 like that?
Oh, do that all day. Yeah.
That's not a tough shot.
Not at all. Hopefully he would have his rifle zeroed in at 100 yards, but so he would point of aim, point of impact on that.
But now you're getting this bolo out, so now they got the information out. So what happens next? You're getting the information out. What happens next with the search now for Dorner?
Yeah, so we run out of the station. We get in Jeremy King's detective car, and everyone, all the patrol guys, including my brother Ryan, they start going towards the condo to help the husband and wife out. So King and I initially started going up there as well, and then King goes, "Hey, he's probably getting out of the area because now he knows." So he's like, he probably went down Highway 38, which is the back way. He's like, let's just go down that way.
Hey, Alex, I mean, does he know this area, or is he just getting lucky trying to get out of there? It sounds like he doesn't know it because he's crashed a couple, times, crashed his other vehicle. But did he have any prior knowledge of this area, or had he been up in the area before, when you guys did the after action?
Not that I know of. I mean, maybe he went up there once or twice, but I don't think he had any, any good, sense of.
He didn't have local knowledge like you guys had, obviously.
No, not at all.
All right, so what happens?
Yeah, so we start going down Highway 38, just thinking about, where he could have gone. And I remember I Googled a Nissan Rogue, and I looked it up on my phone. And because I told Jeremy, I'm like, hey, we are not going to be like the LAPD guys and shoot some innocent citizen. I'm like, so I put my phone in front of his face. I'm like, hey, this is what we're looking for. And I remember he slapped my hand. He's like, get that shit out of my face. I'm trying to drive. So.
And how fast were you trying to drive?
I don't know. I don't want to think about it, but yeah, faster than we probably should have been with no destination where we're going. Yeah.
Just you needed to get there. So, I mean, you're looking for this Rogue Nissan. Now that you guys know what a Nissan Rogue looks like, where are you guys headed? Where do you go?
So we're going down Highway 38, just our major highway, down the back way. And then everyone's kind of, heading up to Big Bear once this information comes out. So our SED team that was stationed up there at the time was actually on the opposite side of the mountain. They were in our Lake Arrowhead, falling up on a lead that Dorner's mom had ties to some cabin over there or something like that. So they were actually probably an hour away from actually being in the city of Big Bear. So all our valley teams start coming up, and I think a couple of people started coming up Highway 38, just kind of all from all directions. Including Detective MacKay, who was station detective at our Yucaipa station, which is, like I said, it's right down there at the bottom of Highway 38. So he starts coming up, which is, again, probably about a 45-minute drive. And as we start going down, we have a resident deputy position that's in between our Yucaipa station and our Big Bear station. It's a small little mountain community that the department pays for the house. He lives there, and he's that resident deputy for that area. So he obviously hears it come out over the radio, and he stops on a turnout, and he's like, hey, if Dorner comes down here, I'm going to put my spike strips out, and I'll just be ready for him.
And spike strips are?
Yeah, it's I guess like an accordion type of device that you can it folds up a nice little box, and you can extend it across the roadway for any vehicle pursuits or anything like that, or like this Dorner thing. And it's got the little hollow nails in it, and it'll puncture a tire and break off and let the air exit through those hollow nails fairly quick.
Yeah, so it gradually goes flat. So it's not like a huge blowout, but it makes the tires go flat and it slows down. But even there are some rocket scientists out there that even after you flatten all their tires, they still drive.
Yeah, absolutely. So the deputy's getting his spike strips out, and as he's doing that, at the back of his patrol Tahoe, he sees Dorner drive by him on Highway 38. So the deputy gets back in his car. As he's pulling out of the turnout, gets stuck behind a large tour bus that was coming from the ski resort. He ends up passing the tour bus, continuing down Highway 38, and he thinks to himself, he goes, I should have caught up to him by now. He must have turned off on ended up being Glass Road, which is the only small little road that you can turn off. And Glass
I'm
Road.
surprised Dorner didn't take a. Did you guys ever find out? Was it just too fast, or I thought if Dorner had seen the deputy there, like the way he shot up the other ones, that he would shoot this deputy's vehicle up?
Yeah, it would have been too fast because with those mountain roads and those turnouts come pretty quick, especially if you're going pretty fast and you don't. He would already, by the time he realized it, he would already been past him. So probably would have been at a huge disadvantage if he would have stopped from there. So he continued down the highway and ended up turning on Glass Road. So the deputy backtracks, and almost immediately after making that turn onto Glass Road, he finds the Nissan Rogue has crashed into a snow berm with the driver door open.
Well, we've established a few things, right? Dorner doesn't know how to untie a boat. He doesn't know how to start a Nissan, and now this is the second vehicle he's crashed. But what do you guys? But the deputy called this out, right? So when he called this out, you must start to have a bunch of people now that you've got some confirmed sightings. You must have a bunch of people starting towards that area now, right?
Yeah. So everyone's heading up there. From the valley stations. Once the deputy puts out that he had located the Rogue, that's when shortly after that, King and I arrived there with him.
So you've got all these units responding now, right? So tell us now about what you guys hear, what you find out. You know, how many people are rolling now towards this area? Because the thing about this now is you've got a confirmed sighting, not only by a citizen, but by a law enforcement officer, by a deputy. So what happens from this point forward?
Yeah, so I think they had, once it gets out, they had a lot of, I know all from our department were coming up there. Then you had a lot of other outside agencies from the PDs kind of self-deploying and stuff like that, which ended up being a problem later on. But when we get there, we meet with the resident deputy and detective.
Where do you meet with him at? Is that at the scene where Dorner's crashed his vehicle?
Yeah, that's where he locates a Nissan Rogue off of Highway 38 and Glass Road. We meet up with him.
How far off Highway 38 are you guys?
It was just a couple hundred yards. He made that turn, lost control, and I think hit that snow berm. Yeah, we meet up with him, the deputy, and then Detective MacKay and his partner get there. We set a perimeter up around the car the best we can, and then right when I got there, that's when my brothers call me because I think they heard me on the radio that my call sign that we arrived where we were going at the car. And my brother Ryan called me, and he kind of filled me in that where Dorner was at the command post and stuff. I told him, I was like, hey, we just got down here, I got to go. And he's like, tells me again, he's like, hey, be careful. He's like, don't do anything stupid. I'm like, all right. And then immediately after I talked to him, my brother Matt calls me, and he's like, hey, I'm on my way up there. Don't do anything stupid. Wait for me. I'm almost there. And I was like,
I'm hearing a common theme here.
Yeah.
You want to ask them, oh, please let me do something stupid, please.
Yeah.
So, but Matt, your other brother, was he on SED?
He was, yeah.
So that's the only team that's available for an immediate response, right? Everybody else has been redeployed back to their regular duty.
Yeah, so he was in the valley, yeah, but everyone's coming to this one right now, yeah. So they're all the whole division is on their way.
So this deputy, you were saying, because I asked you earlier, and I just want to clarify too with folks. I mean, even though you got a lot of stuff going on, my first concern was because I didn't know what it looked like when the deputy showed up after Dorner crashed that vehicle. My concern is why approach that vehicle. But what you were saying is the way he crashed, that door was open. It looked like he had fled the vehicle, right? So that's why the deputy approached it as opposed to waiting for backup.
Yeah, and again, too, where he was at with all the trees and stuff, it probably wouldn't make much sense for him to just sit in his car and just wait for that. You know what I mean? It was probably too much going on with that area, and with the door open, it could have been, we could have flanked him or something like that. So.
All right, so a couple hundred yards off the road, you guys are, you meet up with the deputy. What actions do you guys take from that point?
I think, again, we're just there, set the perimeter position up, and then the deputy got a phone call from a resident in that area and on a cell phone and told him that he was driving on Glass Road, and Dorner had popped out from behind a tree and pointed his AR at him and stole his white Dodge pickup and continued downbound Glass Road.
So he's on his third vehicle now. He just crashed the Nissan. Now he's on a white, you said Dodge?
Yeah, Dodge pickup truck.
All right. So, you guys, I mean, do you guys just hang out? I mean, I'm going to take a wild guess here and say you didn't follow your brother's instructions and wait for other people to show up, did you?
No, no. As soon as he's like, hey, we're on our way. I'm almost there. I remember I told King, I'm like, hey, we better, go find this guy because SWAT's almost here and like pretty much they're going to handle business. So if we want to get anything done, like we better, quit standing here. So as soon as the deputy got that phone call, we're like, hey, let's start going down Glass Road. Now we're looking for a white Dodge pickup. Let's go find this guy. He just carjacked somebody at gunpoint. So we continue. The resident deputy, he was very familiar with that area. There's some cabins down on Glass Road that he had searched earlier in the day and the weeks prior. So he's leading us. We go down Glass Road, and then it was like a Zuzu trooper is coming up at us on Glass Road. And with the snow and stuff, it's goes from a 2-lane mountain road to pretty much a single-lane mountain road. So we didn't know if Dorner had carjacked another car or it was Dorner or what. So we kind of do a felony traffic stop on that where we get out and we call the people out, the driver.
This is shades of LAPD and the newspaper people all over again, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this one we could kind of see that that it wasn't Dorner driving when it was coming up at us. And that the thought that he was just, we just got the information that he was in a white Dodge truck, but we just wanted to be sure. So we ended up doing a felony traffic stop on that, and it was a father and son. We pulled them out, and we start kind of debriefing them. Hey, did you see the pickup truck? Clear the car, make sure Dorner's not hiding in the back or anything like that. So as we're talking to them, 2 of our SED units arrived there, and it was Danny Rosa and Larry Lopez. And these guys are pretty much one saved my life, and then why I continue to even talk about the story, just because they're straight, absolutely badass heroes, and I would not be here if it wasn't for them. So it's kind of, I don't mind talking about it, but I just have no need to talk about this anymore. But to kind of get out there and let people know the caliber of guys that are in this profession and what they do is, it's honestly, it's an honor to get and share their story about what they did.
Which is what Game of Crimes is all about.
So they get there, and Larry was driving the big like Dodge or a Chevy box van with the sliding door on it. Each team had one. It holds a lot of the gear and stuff, and like they use it like kind of do a Trojan horse on search warrants where they all load in there and then drive it to the house. So he ends up parking his van there and grabs his gear and then gets into the front seat of Danny Rosa's pickup truck. And I remember when they got there, I was a little bummed out. I was like, God dang it. I'm like, they're going to go down there and, have all the fun and stuff. And we're going to be stuck on a perimeter position or something like that. So I remember I was standing in the road, and then we get information from dispatch. So there was 2 fish and game officers on Glass Road. We didn't know they were down there. And I don't even know if they had the information about Dorner stealing the pickup truck, just with radio communications. I don't know if they were on our channel or not, but Dorner passed by them in the white Dodge pickup truck, and as he passed them, put his AR out the window and just kind of lit their vehicles up as he drove by. Shot the windows out, doors, all that stuff. Luckily, the fish and game guys were able to duck, and none of them were hit with any rounds. So
Boy, this guy's he's just continually poking the bear at any opportunity he gets, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. So that information came out, and then I remember I standing in the middle of the road, and Danny stuck his head out the window, and he goes, "Get the fuck out of my way!" So I kind of stepped back off the road, and he just did a, burnout and took off. So I told King, I'm like, "Hey, let's get in the car, let's go with them." There's just 2 of them down there. This guy just shot 2 fish and game guys, so obviously we're gonna go as well. So we start going down, and the resident deputies in front of us, and we kind of get to a fork in the road, and he pulls over and he goes, "Hey, I couldn't keep up with Danny. He was driving too fast. I don't know where he went." But we ended up I think we ended up veering to the left, but later to find out that road, it kind of reconnects. It's just kind of a little offshoot, little crazy mountain road. So we continue to go downbound Glass Road, and we come across 2 old cabins. So there's a main cabin, then there's like a little outbuilding. So as we pass it, There's a bunch of foot tracks since, the deputies and stuff had searched those cabins earlier in the week. And I think earlier in that morning, and there's a set of tire tracks that pull up directly next to the cabin. And as we passed it, it kind of looked like someone pulled in there and then maybe reversed and went back on the highway. So we passed the cabins, and then the resident deputy stops again. We pull up next to him. Now I'm kind of like getting a little frustrated. I'm like, hey man, like, what do you keep stopping for? And he's like, hey, there's something weird with that cabin. Those tire tracks weren't there earlier. I think we should check it out. I'm not really thinking that it was Dorner, just because our aviation helicopter was up above us, and I assume that they would have said something if they saw this white Dodge that we were looking for. And then I'm like, okay, well, let's just clear this real quick. He was pretty adamant about those tire tracks being weird, and I was like, all right, cool, we'll clear it real quick and then get back on the road, and then link back up with our SVD unit.
Now, where was the white Dodge, though? I mean, you probably don't know at the time, but where'd you find out later?
Yeah, we didn't know at the time, but what Dorner had actually done, he actually drove through the property between the cabin and the outbuilding, and then there was a big like pine tree. So there was the snow kind of stopped underneath this pine tree, and then so he drove through there, and that's when the tire track stopped. So he drove all the way through the property into the back, and then crashed that white Dodge down an embankment, a small little ravine, and he got out of the Dodge and then actually kicked the back door to that main cabin and was sitting right in there in the living room.
At the time that you guys are at, how many people do you have on the ground out there? Obviously, it sounds like there's an air unit, but how many folks do you have on the ground for this confrontation?
With us, it was me and King, the resident deputy, MacKay and his partner, and I think maybe one other deputy that was there.
Let's before we get into the shooting and everything. Right now, what are you guys thinking? You know he's got to be there. You know or do you think that he's there? Let me ask you this: do you think he's there? Do you think he's close? Or are you thinking false alarm? He's farther down the road.
I'm not really thinking he's there, but we're still gonna, with everything that was going on, we're still gonna be cautious with what we're doing.
So how do you be cautious with the guy who's just shooting everything up in sight? How do you guys start approaching this? How are you guys going to, what's your plan to clear these houses?
So I was going to go up and I was going to look at those tire tracks and just see if they went or where they went and get a better look at it. And again, we parked downbound from the cabin, so he didn't have any view of us. So as we're walking up to the cabin, a silver Dodge Durango pulls up, and it's two narcotics officers. It's a sergeant from the Redlands Police Department and a deputy from my department, the Sheriff's Department. They were on a joint team. So they pull up and they stop in the middle of the road, like directly in front of the cabin. When we were walking up, it was myself, King, and then MacKay was behind King. So King and MacKay kind of break off from me to go talk to the two narc guys at the front bumper of the Dodge Durango and tell them what we're doing. King tells them that the SVD units had taken off down the road, continued, and we're going to check this cabin and mention something about the tire tracks. As I continue, I don't stop with them. I continue to walk along the roadway, just kind of looking down at the footprints, and then as I'm getting closer to the tire tracks. As I get closer to the tire tracks, that's when I break that first plane of the living room window where Dorner was. He was offset, backed up from the window a little bit in the living room. And as soon as I break that plane of the window, he starts shooting at me.
Was he waiting for you, or did he see you approaching, you think, or did he just happen to spot you when you broke the plane?
I think he saw the car, but I don't think he had a view from where the guys were at the front bumper. I think he might have had from where he was at was just maybe a view from the rear quarter panel of that car, and then once I got closer to that window and saw that I was walking towards the cabin.
So walk us through. So he sees you, you see him, right?
No, I don't see him.
You never
at all.
saw him?
No, he's inside the cabin, just offset, and there was I think one window had had curtains over it, and I think he might have picked up like a mattress or something like that and put it over the other window of the cabin. So yeah, I couldn't see him at all. So I'm kind of walking, looking down at the tracks, and then he starts doing that first volley of fire, and he had a suppressor on his AR as well. He was accurate. First round hit me right in my face, went in next to my left nostril. went through the roof of my mouth, through my tongue, knocked my front teeth out, and then it continued, blew out the right side of my jaw, just right in my jawline, and then the bullet continued and it ended up stopping right in the shoulder strap of my tack vest.
Like you said, did you feel it and then hear the sound, or describe for folks, when did it register with you that there was something wrong? Was it the feeling? Was it the sound? Or when did you realize you've actually been shot?
It was like getting punched in the head. You see the flash, feel it. The pain wasn't anything bad, but I got hit all kind of at once in that first volley. So it was, rapid fire. I got hit in the face. I got hit in the left forearm, shot the rifle out of my hand, and then I got hit in the chest, right under my left pec, kind of all at once.
Did the body armor take any absorb or stop any of that at all?
So it hit a corner piece of the body armor, but yeah, it was kind of right on the stitching of that vest. So it just barely nicked the soft body armor.
So if you'd had the plates in, it still would have helped, right?
I don't think it would have, no, just because those plates are so narrow right down there. It probably would have.
Yeah, you got to be directly on most of those shots, right? The ones from the side, the ones under the arms, those are the ones that end up being dangerous.
Yeah, and I was kind of bladed at the time, kind of with looking down from the window where he was shooting at.
And we know what it means. So when you say bladed too, just give folks an idea of where were you in position to the angle of fire coming from Dorner?
Yeah, so just kind of my whole left side was exposed at that point.
And that's why the first shot comes in through the left nostril. You're getting everything from the left side.
Yeah.
Now you got hit in the left. Are you right-handed or left-handed?
Right-handed.
Right. So, you would have had the rifle you said was in your right hand then, holding that, right?
I had it. I was holding it. Yeah, I had it up, not up, just kind of pointed down at the ground, but with my left, my hand on the the stock.
So your left hand's out front in the receiver, right? So your right hand's down by the grip, and you're kind of holding it that way. And you get shot in the left arm or the right arm?
The left arm.
And then where else did you get shot?
Yeah, so I got the face, the chest, the left forearm, and then once I kind of realized everything that was going on, like, oh fuck, I'm getting shot. I turned to take cover behind the Dodge Durango that was parked in the street, and as I turned to take cover, I got shot right in my left knee, and it kind of just went through. Those rifle rounds, they go in small and then they just kind of explode on their way out. So it just kind of blew like my entire tibia plateau out of everything, like the knee joint kind of sits on.
From Dorner to you, how far away are you guys?
It wasn't too far at all. It's probably maybe like 35 yards.
Wow. So he could see you, and the reason you couldn't see him, obviously, if you're 35 yards away, we're talking 90, to 100 feet. Mm-hmm. So you're not able to see in the house, but he's obviously able to see out. But does he shoot directly through the window, or has he got an open window, or do you know how the first shots came out?
Yeah, I think he's shooting directly through the window.
Okay.
So I take cover behind the rear quarter panel of the Dodge Durango, and Dorner continues to fire at me behind the car.
Who else is with you? Where's everybody else at this time? You're getting shot. Where's everybody else?
Yeah, so King realized that he didn't know I got shot at that time. He just hears it because it's a suppressor. He's kind of looking around. He's like, what the hell is that? And then he sees the windows start popping on the Durango, and he's like, oh shit, we're getting shot at. So he runs back to where he initially parked, takes cover, and starts returning fire into the main cabin. I think he shot the outbuilding and a couple trees from where he was at, just kind of doing cover fire.
What's he armed with too? Has he also got a rifle?
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
What kind of rifle are you guys armed with?
So patrol, they have the Mini 14s, and then our SWD team has the full auto M4s.
Mini 14. A Mini 14 is a Ruger Mini 14. What caliber is that? A 30?
223. So I take cover behind the rear quarter panel glass. I thought I went back there and kind of ate shit, but MacKay and the two narcotics officers took cover behind the front tire, behind the engine block, and then I ran around to take cover behind the rear driver's side as well.
And you said Dorner's still shooting at you, right?
Yeah, he's still shooting at me. So I go down, and one of the narcotics guys says I ran behind the car, put my back against the rear quarter panel with the tires, and then kind of slid down to my butt.
How were you able to walk at this point if he just shot you through your knee?
I have no idea.
That's just adrenaline.
Yeah, and the only place I knew I was really hit, I knew I was hitting the face, and I knew I was hitting the chest at that point. just because I went back there and he's still shooting at me, so I got that going on, and I start choking on all this blood, all my teeth got knocked out, my tongue is shot in half, and all this blood is like building up in my throat, and I got a kind of a hole in my neck, and I can't breathe at all. So I have to lean forward, and I kind of start letting all this, teeth and bone and all this other crap kind of get out of my mouth, and I keep telling myself, like, don't fucking panic, just breathe. So I kind of went down there, found a position where I could get some oxygen in, and then Dorner again kept shooting at me. The rear quarter panel glass, the whole tint piece, it came out in like one piece, and it landed right in my lap. So I got that, and I kind of threw that off me, and I kind of leaned to my right. He shot the tire. The tire was hissing air, and then he started skipping rounds into the car, and then one of the rounds skipped, and it hit me in my right hand. So I kind of went back up a little bit and tucked my elbows in a little bit tighter from him.
Now, when you say he's skipping shots at you, can you explain for the listeners what you're talking about there?
Yeah, so I have cover behind like the rear tire of the vehicle, and then all that exposed area underneath the vehicle. He's just kind of shooting rounds from underneath the vehicle.
Yeah, because when bullets don't bounce and come up at the same angle of attack, they come in, they hit and they kind of flatten out. So if you can shoot like down towards the ground, they'll flatten out and stay at a low trajectory, and skip kind of through there. So you've been shot now through the face, through the arm, through the pec, through the knee, and now you've taken another shot to your hand. So you've taken 5 rounds so far. Is that right?
Yeah. So the one in the chest. I knew he was shooting a rifle round. I had soft body armor in. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna die. Like my chest was on fire. And then I was like, I immediately start thinking of my wife with this brand new baby that I left her with, who's 2 weeks old. I start thinking about my brothers. I'm like, God dang, I felt like I let them down. I think when we talked during the pre-call yesterday, I mentioned a little bit, I always wanted to be like them. I always looked up to them. I always wanted to make them proud. And then especially on, the department, they had a really good reputation. And that was kind of one of my main driving forces, was just, to be like them, and to keep, the family name good, and not do anything stupid, to embarrass, myself or them. So I felt like I fucked up, and I let them down a little bit.
But you also took a shot, one shot through your chest also hit your iPhone, right?
Yeah, so I was back there, and I'm like, I got to call my wife. What a piece of shit.
How the hell are you going to call your wife? You've been shot through the face, half your jaw's missing. I mean, did you really think were you able to talk at that point?
So, no, I reached in, and like I said, I had that Saber jacket, and I had my phone right in the chest pocket underneath my vest. So I was like, I got to call my wife and tell her I'm sorry for doing this to her. So I go reach in under my vest, and I unzip the pocket, and I pull the phone out, and the phone is like exploded. So the round actually, like, it went through the, nicked the body armor, hit my phone, but it slowed the bullet down enough that it didn't penetrate my chest cavity. Just gave me a nice, cool scar. So that phone actually saved my life. Yeah.
A cool scar.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to laugh at that. I mean,
I didn't know there were cool scars. Yes.
I heard the story yesterday, and I am so zoned in on this, and I just looked at myself, and I've got this frown, and my heart's bleeding for you, and you're talking about a cool scar because it hit you down.
Forrest Gump had a cool scar too, and he showed it to the President of the United States in the movie.
Gosh.
So good thing you weren't shot in the buttocks and you were showing us your cool scar. So
well, it's just cop humor. I mean, this is the way you deal with life. Holy cow!
When does the first call for help goes out? Who makes that call?
So I think I don't know who put the first one out. So the resident deputy was there. I just know off Jeremy King or Detective King's belt recording that the resident deputy is calling out officer down. He's putting out the location that we're out, and then MacKay and the 2 narcotics officers are behind the engine block, and then MacKay starts putting information out that Dorner is shooting at us from inside the cabin directly, and like north of the vehicle that we're behind.
So something we should bring back in because it's going to make a difference here in a little bit. We talked about this yesterday, but when you guys also started planning this, there's also a couple things you did to pre-stage some resources and assets, and that included a medical helicopter. That included one of your other tactical units, the helicopters, and you had an ER doc too that was aboard that medical flight, right?
Yeah, we did. So we have our medic ship. So once the call came out that Dorner was spotted in Big Bear, they took off from our hangar, which is near our headquarters, and they actually flew to the Big Bear Airport and landed and were staging at the Big Bear Airport. And then on it was his name's Dr. Gergis. He's a full-time ER doctor, and he volunteers his time a couple days a month and flies out with our medic ship. So and he's a reserve deputy. With the department.
That's so cool.
You guys actually had then, I mean, that was part of the planning too. I mean, that's just part of good SOP is that you're going to do something like this. They've already known Dorner's going to shoot people. He's already killed people. So you need to make sure you got medic ship out there. You got to have some additional help. What other resources was that? Was that the only airborne resources you guys had coming in at that point?
Yeah, we had that. And then we had our obviously our patrol helicopter, which was up above us at the time as well.
How long did it? Well, and this is for later though too, because you obviously didn't know about it at the time. How long was it before all the news people started coming out? Because they've got to be monitoring, they've got to be listening too, right? So when these other aircrafts take off, the other complication always is it's the news.
Yeah, so I didn't know at the time, but yeah, so the news helicopters get there. Some reporter heard it come out over the scanner or something, and he actually drove down there and captured some of it on video. So yeah, they started going down there as well.
So you're behind the vehicle. You've already taken 5 rounds. What's going on? Who kind of let us know now? What as this progresses? Where's everybody at? You got folks returning fire. So now just play out the rest of the scenario for us.
So the 2 narcotics officers, MacKay, are behind the engine block. King and the other 2 deputies are back where we initially parked, and King's returning some fire. Our SWD unit obviously heard out that we officer down, so they turn around because they'd passed the cabin. They turn around and start backtracking to where we're initially at. MacKay goes up from the hood and starts returning fire into the cabin into the window. He goes back down, and when he pops up to return fire a second time up over the hood, Dorner's kind of obviously has this rifle already set on that area of the vehicle and immediately shoots MacKay as he breaks the plane of the hood of that Durango.
Well, yeah, shit's hitting the fan at this point, so adrenaline's going, and you've got limited areas to move. He pops up, and like you say, Dorner shoots right in the area where he's popping up. Did you see what was going on at that time? Were you still lucid enough to know what was happening?
No, I didn't know MacKay had got shot. Like I said, I was again just trying to pretty much just struggling to breathe with that. I did it, like I said, I pulled my phone out and that was exploded, and then I kind of I had to put my head on like my right arm just to get in a position
where you could breathe.
Yeah, and then once that was going on, then I kind of realized I was shot in the leg. Every breath that I did take, it felt like bone was like kind of grinding together in my leg. Any movement I took was just kind of excruciating pain in that leg. And then that's when I realized too I was shot in the arm. I looked down at my hand, and it looked like a bunch of crab meat was hanging out of my jacket sleeve, but it was just all the tendons and stuff like that were hanging out from my forearm, because it was a huge chunk of like bone and skin. It was almost like a baseball size hole that was in my left forearm.
And we know what you're really ticked off about at this point, that you screwed up that brand new jacket, that 511, didn't you?
Yeah, and then my brand new gun too. So I don't know, I must have pulled it out or something at one point, because it was laying on the asphalt. This was later on, and then we have all our armor drive-in and our tack tractor and stuff, and that gun got ran over like 8 times. So.
All scratched up.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Yeah.
It just goes from bad to worse, huh?
Yeah.
So let's go back, but Detective MacKay, he takes a round, but that's a fatal round, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's, you know, from what I was told, it kind of hit him in the collarbone and then shot diagonal across his body. And he goes down, and he was shot several more times from underneath the vehicle.
When Dorner was skipping the rounds where he laid down, he was able to skip those rounds into him.
Yep.
What, because this is going on, so just walk us from there, you know, because some of this you remember and some of this, you know, because of after the fact, right? What's the last thing you remember for sure at the scene that you remember happening?
So I was behind the vehicle, and just tons of rounds were going off at this point. And I don't know if it was from Dorner or, you know, my partners returning fire. It was just hundreds of rounds being fired. And then I looked back, and I see the tires of the Dodge Durango kind of rolling right next to my head. And then now I'm completely exposed to the cabin. My cover is gone, and I look to my left, and MacKay is a couple inches from my face, just kind of laying there.
Now, you don't know at this point whether he's alive or dead, right?
No, I don't.
So what happened to make that vehicle move?
So from what I've been told, the plan was the sergeant from Redlands PD was told the deputy to get in the driver's seat or put the seat back and put the vehicle in neutral and to roll it out. And he was going to drag me and MacKay behind the vehicle and use it as cover. So the deputy does that. He gets in the car, puts it neutral, rolls the vehicle out. And then once we pass the cabin and get back to where all our vehicles were parked out of Dorner's view, he gets out and he sees me and MacKay laying where we were and out in the middle of the street now. And I guess that sergeant said that MacKay was dead and I was too heavy to cover or to drag.
Unbelievable.
You told us this yesterday, and I'm telling you, the more I thought about it, the angrier I got about this for a couple reasons. Number one, dude, whether it's law enforcement, military, whatever, you don't leave anybody behind. If you say you're going to do something, you're going to drag them out of there. You drag their ass out of there. You grab them. You do whatever it takes, you know, to get that stuff done. And then, but to use the excuse is that, well, how do you know? I mean, if I'd looked at you, I would have thought you're dead. I mean, how many times has somebody looked like they're dead, but they're not? And it's like, you're not a fucking doctor. You don't get to make that decision out in the field. You get everybody back so that they got a chance of surviving.
That's Joe Piersante, last week's guest, got shot in the head by the Taliban through the temple, through his helmet, through the temple, out the other side. His guys drug him on the helicopter because that's what you do. You don't leave a man behind. And a man puts his hand on his chest to pray for him and feels him breathing. He's still alive today because of that.
And because of that one nurse, they also had a thing too where if you pushed him across the line, you had to work on him. Nobody wanted to do it because they didn't think Piersante would survive. That nurse pushed him across the line at that Ford operating base hospital. The thing that pisses me, and let me tell you why, the thing that pisses me off about this, and I'm jumping forward a little bit, it sounds strange because Murph and I are both cops. You're a cop. I mean, we love this job. We love this shit. But to leave somebody out there like that and then to fucking get a medal for doing what you just did, which is exposing, taking away not just concealment, but your cover, the thing that was protecting you from taking more rounds. I tell you what really pissed me off, I got to tell you, Alex, is when you sent me the PDF and I see the pictures from the helicopter that they took of the ground and you and MacKay are laying out there with no fucking cover.
Yeah.
And somebody gets a fucking medal for this. You know, I tried to hold on to my rage about this, but this is, guys,
No, it's okay. It's okay because you're exactly right. This guy was awarded for doing something he didn't do.
Yeah.
You know, and Alex, we're not asking you to comment on it because you're
got to
still
work
working
out there. We don't have to live out there or work out there, and we get to call it out when we see bullshit like this. It's one thing if they put their ass on the lines, but to fucking run away and leave you guys exposed out there and to ensure is that MacKay took more rounds or you took more rounds, fucking unconscionable.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, he should have had the balls to stand up afterwards and say, I don't want this award. I didn't earn it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, I wasn't going to use the C word, but cowardice is the first thing that came to my mind. It's like you fucking didn't go out there because you were a coward and you used the excuse, well, MacKay was dead and you were too heavy. I'm sorry. How much did you fucking weigh at that point, Alex?
Yeah, I was a big runner. I was pretty slim, so I was like 165 pounds.
I'm telling you, when adrenaline pumps, I could have grabbed you with one hand and thrown. I could have tossed you 20 feet with all that adrenaline going just to get you out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's and again we're being Monday morning quarterbacks, but damn, I mean that's just unacceptable. That's
Not at this
unacceptable.
point. This ain't Monday morning quarterback. And Steve, I mean, take a look at that PDF file. Take a look at the pictures of him laying out in the middle of no fucking where with
Yeah.
no fucking cover. And I haven't
saw
used the
him.
F word this much in such a short time since I was on Christopher Lockhead's podcast. God damn.
Yeah, and you can see that they moved MacKay. Like there's a big puddle of blood in those photos too, so the vehicle didn't run him over or anything. And yeah, and especially I have an audio clip too of the belt recording, and it just how many rounds that you can hear going off and what that feeling was like. I remember I was laying there and I see them all crouched down behind the car now, and I'm yelling at them to come get me. I don't know if they could understand me because I didn't really have a tongue or anything, but um, my rifle's laying in the middle of the street. I'm asking them to throw me a gun to come get me, and I just remember them telling me not to move, don't move. And that's when Danny Rosa and Larry Lopez get there, and then they immediately start laying full auto cover fire into the cabin, which probably saved us from getting shot additional times. Being out there in the middle of the open kind of probably pushed Dorner back further into the cabin and not right out that window.
And who eventually dragged your ass to safety? Was it Rosa?
Yeah, so additional SED guys start getting there, and which is Justin Musella, my brother Matt, and then his Sergeant John Charbonneau. They get there, and Musella, former Army Ranger, immediately sees what's going on, sees we're in the middle of the road. My brother Matt did not know it was me. He saw us laying down there, but he didn't think it was me because he knew we were wearing suits all weekend, and he could tell that the officers that were down on the road were not wearing suits. So they immediately start laying cover fire into the cabin as well. Musella tells Charbonneau, he says, immediately gets out, says, "Love you, fucker," and took off running about 50 yards in the middle of the open to the adjacent outbuilding of that cabin. He communicates with Danny Rosa and Larry Lopez, who are on the other side, where we initially parked. He goes, "Hey, I'm going to pop smoke. You guys get your officer rescue plan together and get them out." So Musella ran out in the middle of the open through 2 canisters of smoke.
Was that to provide cover or concealment at least, so that it would obscure Dorner's vision?
Yeah, so Dorner wouldn't see Danny and Larry running out there to grab us. So the smoke was perfect, landed, provided some concealment. So Larry ran out first from behind the vehicle, grabbed MacKay and drug him back while Danny laid down cover fire into the cabin. And he gets back and he goes, "Okay, your turn." Danny ran out, grabbed me, and drug me back while Larry laid down cover fire into the cabin. And like I said, if those guys weren't there, I would have bled out and died out in the middle of that roadway.
You would have bled out and died because the 2 motherfuckers who had the chance to pull you out of harm's way didn't do it in the first place. And so now we got to expose more officers to this. This is something I got to stop here, because otherwise I will go off the ledge on this. And I'm not doing this for drama. I'm not doing this, but I'm telling you, man, I thought about this last night and I thought, how was I going to handle this? I'd like to think things through, and I usually like to think I'm kind of keep an even keel and stuff. But man, I got to tell you, I cannot. I'm going to leave it at that. That's if I go any farther with this, it won't be healthy.
Yeah, and you kind of live on the edge anyway. You're about to fall over every day.
Fucking A, man.
I don't want to see you go.
I am one paycheck away from the dark side. So
you get back to the cars now. They got you in a safe position, or at least a position with cover, right?
Yeah. So, and that's when Danny Rosa dragged me back behind the car. He was dragging me so fast. Once he got behind cover, he kind of fell backwards, and I'm like, oh, I'm looking up, and I'm like, fuck, did he just fucking get shot? Saving me, but he ended up tripping and getting back up. So yeah, they brought us back behind the cover, and they got us back there. One of our SWAT medics, was trying to make his way around, like through the, take the long way around the cabin to get to us, to provide us some, some
First aid
on that. So they end up, I saw King, and that's when I was like, man, my face must be pretty jacked up, because the look he gave me was like he was gonna like pass out, but it was just
How are
the,
you still I'm sorry, how are you still conscious and lucid at this point to remember this stuff?
yeah, I was like, again, like it was like, obviously I probably had, getting shot in the head with a 223. I was a little out of it, and we're out there for a long time. Losing a
How
lot of
cold
blood.
was it out there? Was like below freezing? Was it pretty cold?
Yeah, it was probably in the 30s. A bunch of snow on the road. Um, so they got us. They put me in the back of Danny Rose's pickup truck, and I had my leg stretched out across the bench seat, and I was kind of hugging the back headrest with my right arm, just so I could, because every time I kind of went on my back and stuff, again, the blood would pull up in my throat, and I'd start suffocating on that. So I got in a position where I could put my head down and kind of let the blood just drain out of my mouth. And then that's Danny Rosa's a Marine. He's on our honor guard, and he was just getting ready to do his honor guard duties at Officer Crane's funeral in Riverside. And he had his nice, ceremony boots on the bench seat of his truck. And I looked down, and all this blood and stuff is just, filling up the bottom of these boots. And then I just remember, I'm like, whoever's boots these are going to be so pissed when they get in here, because the boots.
You're sitting here, been shot 5 times, and all you're fucking concerned about is, I think I'm ruining somebody's pretty boots.
I'm like, man, this is kind of fucked up. Yeah, all this shit's going right into this guy's boots.
Yeah.
And then I remember another too, that we talked a little bit about yesterday. We look up to these guys and want to have this reputation, and again, it wasn't that I thought I was going to die. It was like, all right, I know that I'm dying, like I'm dead, especially with that round in my chest, and then how much blood was coming out of my mouth. Like there was no other thought. I'm like, okay, I'm just pretty much fucking waiting to die at this point.
When did that point happen? How far into this incident do you think? I mean, because at first you're like shot, you're just still reacting and stuff. When was it when you were laying out there all alone? What point did that thought start creeping into your mind? Is that, no, this is it, I've bought it?
It was almost like, it was pretty quick, just about my getting shot in the chest with that rifle. It was just all this, because it was 5 days of like scenarios that were running through our head that we were talking about, and stuff. So it was pretty quick. And then with the chest thing, I'm like, God damn it, like, this is not one of the scenarios I fucking had that I played out. Me dying in the middle of some shit mountain road is not what I thought about. So it was like, God damn it, I got a couple seconds before I fucking die, just taking a rifle round to the chest. And then I was still there, I was still breathing. Then it went back to, okay, don't panic, fucking breathe. Just kind of like when you stub your toe, when you're like, oh, okay, that fucking hurts, or like, all right, think about something else. And it went back and forth. I mean, I think we were out there for close to 30-40 minutes by the time I got shot till we made it onto the helicopter. So it was some time that we're out there.
What
That's a
goes
long
through
time.
what goes through your mind when you're, I mean, I know you're saying that you're thinking you're going to die, but what goes through your mind? Are you thinking about, I mean, you got a wife, you got a brand new son, family and stuff. What are you thinking about while this is happening?
I was thinking that I let everybody down, that I fucked up, that's just kind of what I felt. That it wasn't, I wasn't supposed to happen like this. And then I remember when my leg was killing me at that point, and then I remember I'm like, don't fucking say anything, just shut your mouth, fucking die like a man, because the last thing these guys are gonna remember you back here fucking complaining about how bad your legs hurt. So it was just that mental battle. The only thing I can like kind of compare it to is like when you're running, like if you do any like long distance running, and all you want to fucking do is stop and take a breather, and then you mentally force yourself to continue running.
It's called hitting the wall. I mean, you just hit that wall and you just got to power through the wall.
Yep. So yeah, they load us in the back of Danny Rose's truck, and then I see they're picking up MacKay, and I'm trying to tell them like don't put him on my leg, because I kind of have it stretched out on the bench seat, and I don't know if they knew I was shot in the leg or not, but as they do, they pick him up and kind of throw him in the car right on top of me. And then I'm like, oh my God, like I just want to freaking pass out or die at this point. Like, this fucking hurts. Oh, one thing I kind of touched over when I passed King, that he gave me that, that look on his face. But I gave him a thumbs up and tried to tell him that I was going to be okay when they were dragging me out.
Man, the fact that 30 minutes into this, with the trauma you have and the rounds you're taking, that you're still able to think and communicate, and just even if it's a thumbs up and do stuff like that, where did it come from?
What's that? When, like,
Yeah, I mean, where did this? I mean, I know that you said you thought you were going to die, but it sounds like, but you sounded more pissed about it. It's like, yeah, if I die, I'm not going to. Just even with what you said, die. I'm not going to go out like a wuss. I'm not going to complain about my leg. I don't want them thinking that. Where does this mindset come from?
Yeah, you're offering encouragement to another guy that's been shot,
Yeah.
and here you are thinking you're going to die.
Yeah, it was just that look in his face and how close we are, and I just kind of wanted to let him know that I was going to be okay, and I know he still had a job to do and not to worry about me.
That's called the warrior mentality, the warrior mindset.
Well, the thing is, too, you never know when you're going to have to use it. And here you guys are up in Big Bear. Nothing goes on in Big Bear, just stuff. And now you've got the incident of all incidents happening. So they put you into the pickup truck. Who's driving now? Is it Rosa or is it Lopez?
No, Danny, Rosa, and Larry Lopez, they stayed there to engage with Dorner, and the two narcotics officers got into the pickup truck and drove us out.
And who are these two narcotic officers with?
It was a deputy with the sheriff's department, and then a sergeant with the Redlands Police Department.
The same ones that left you high and dry out there now get to drive you out.
Yeah, so they drove us out. Our medic ship once they called the officer down, they took off from the airport and were hovering, and they had to find a landing zone now in the middle of the forest where they could get us out.
That's got to be some balls of steel, too, because you're landing now. You don't know what's underneath that snow. You don't know what the ground is like. You've got trees and everything. I mean...
Oh, those guys are badass. And then the doc on that ship, Dr. Gerges, probably one of the coolest guys I've ever met. It wouldn't rather have anybody else, on that helicopter that day.
So walk us through that. So they're driving you there. You drive from there. You've got MacKay with you, in the back of the vehicle. Are you hearing anything? Are you hearing any radio traffic because you're headed out to the helicopter, or is it pretty much over for you at this point?
Yeah, I just remember I was back there and MacKay's on top of me, and then they hit some dirt road, and then the truck almost got stuck, and I can feel the tires spinning. I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, this is a shitty day. So they finally get us to the landing zone. They pull MacKay.
How long of a trip was that, if you remember, or if you were told later?
I don't remember. I don't think it was very far from where we were at. So they get us, they get MacKay out of the car, and then they get me out, and then they end up putting me on my back in the whatever the medic back basket thing is that they have on those helicopters. So they put me on my back, and all the blood starts pulling up in my throat again. So the doc has to, he flips me over. He kind of realized what was going on. He flips me over on my stomach, so the blood can just kind of drain out of my mouth. So they didn't do too much work on me in the helicopter that I'm aware of, just because I was on my stomach.
Well, the other thing too, as long as they call it ABCs, airway, breathing, circulation, as long as you got those three things going, it's like, the most important thing is that golden hour, what they call. You got significant trauma. They got to get you somewhere, quickly.
Yeah. So the doc on the helicopter, he actually did all his residency. It's our level 1 trauma center. It's Loma Linda, and we had another trauma center that was a little bit closer. But he's like, hey, take him to Loma Linda. Like, trust me, he's going to be all right. He can make it over there. Luckily, he did take me over there. There was 2 orthopedic surgeons on duty. There was a maxillofacial surgeon on duty, in which I'm told is like pretty much unheard of that all these people are going to be there at the same time all at once. So
were they there because of the shooting, or were they there just because that happened to be scheduling, or just by chance?
Just by chance that they were all there at the same time.
It was a bad day, but it's kind of like, but at least it sounds like a lot of the stuff was working out for us. Like everybody you needed was there.
Yep. So they get us, so on the helicopter, he's telling me, he's like, hey, we're 10 minutes out. We're 5 minutes out.
See, I'm still surprised you are conscious at this point.
Yeah. And I told him, and I asked the doctor, I was like, hey, tell my brothers I'm sorry, and tell my wife I love her. And then he it's actually a funny story. He tells me, he's like, dude, he's like, you're fine. He's like, we're gonna be having beers this time next week. And then I was like, fuck, like I just thought I was gonna die for like the past like 40 minutes, and I was like, I'm being a big old wuss out here. Like, all right, but he was full of shit. I was in a coma that time next week, but it's what I needed to hear because it helped. And I'm like, okay, all right, cool. Like it's not that bad then.
You didn't want somebody going, yeah, you're right, pal, you're screwed. Give me your last will and testament. I'll take it here
Yeah,
for you. I mean, that's
yeah.
just what a great. Had this doc had any military training, or was he just an ER doc?
ER doc. His brother's a highway patrol officer, and does
See,
a bunch
there you
of,
go, Murph.
Yep.
State Patrol comes from good lineage, good stock.
Well, there's an exception occasionally.
Yeah. So how long of a
this is fantastic.
Oh yeah, man. How long of a helicopter ride was it?
It's not too far, maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes in the
So
helicopter.
from the time you were shot, the first rounds you took till the time you actually made it into the hospital, was that like within an hour?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
See, and that's what I'm saying. They call it the golden hour, man. You got to, if you can get somebody with significant trauma in during that first hour, the survival rate just goes up. And what planning and forethought to have the medical airship out there, have your medic ship out there, have all of this kind of support out there.
Yeah.
With a trauma doctor on board. Unbelievable. I mean, that's a guy I should never have to buy another beer again.
Fuck. Yeah, send me his name. I will send him a case of fantastic Belgian beer, which I just received another shipment of. Are you a Belgian beer fan, Alex?
I like the IPAs.
Oh, dude, I gotta break you of another bad habit. That one and disappointing your brothers. So you're in there. So what's the last thing you remember from that day before you wake up out of this coma?
Yeah, so I remember getting wheeled into the emergency room, and they start cutting all my clothes off, and they start cutting my boots off. And I remember they're kind of tugging at my left boot, so I'm trying to tell the nurse, I'm like, hey, you gotta, like, you're gonna rip my leg off, you gotta cut that thing. So she's getting my boot off.
Can you even talk at this point?
Yeah, I can talk a little bit. I think they can make out some of the stuff. I was kind of amazed that I had not passed out yet. And then
Are you more talking like somebody who's had like the shot of Novocaine at the dentist and stuff, where your face like is all numb and half stuff, or how are you? I mean, because with your tongue half gone and your jaw missing, it's like I'm surprised you can even articulate words.
Yeah. I was able to get some words out, and then I remember the lady was another nurse was trying to take my watch off my wrist, and I kind of looked up and I saw kind of all that my arm, like, man, that is fucking gross. So she's getting my watch. I'm like, and she's taking the strap off, and I'm trying to tell her, like, hey, just cut my watch off. I'm thinking, like, you just cut a pair of $300 Danners off. Like, I don't really care about this stupid ass G-Shock, But she's able to get my watch off me and save my watch. So she didn't cut my watch, but my Danners were toast. So.
I tell you, watching those folks work at accidents or other stuff, trauma like that, those shears that they've got in there, I mean, there's a reason they do it. You just got to get all that clothing off. They don't, and they rightly so. They can when they can, but they rightly don't care. They cut everything off because it's like the whole point is to check you for bleeds. Are you bleeding out? If you got other wounds that they need to know about, they've got to do a full diagnostic on you so they can start figuring out what's the priority to work on with you. So
yeah, and they cut those cut my tack vest off, cut it all off. And then I remember the doctor came over and he was telling, I don't really remember what he was saying. And then I told him, I'm like, hey, I remember thinking, I'm like, hey, like, I'm telling him I'm a pretty good looking guy, so make sure you fix my face.
Jesus Christ. The fucking vanity.
Yeah. I was trying to do it more of a joke. It was probably the pain meds were kicking in. And then they start wheeling me out. And then our Sheriff John McMahon was there. And I was like, what the hell is the sheriff doing here already? But he heard that they were taking us to Loma Linda, so he drove right over there, him and another detective on the department. And I was like, man, I don't know if I was dreaming or what, but as they wheel me out, I see him, and he comes over and talked to me, and I told him I was sorry for getting shot, and then that was the last thing I remember.
Yeah. So, and you mentioned earlier they put you into a medically induced coma. How long did that last?
That was about a week, maybe a little over a week. But I remember I came to, and I had the breathing tube in for a really long time. And I came to, and that's when I realized MacKay had died. There was no one in my room or anything, which was kind of weird. And then his funeral was actually on the TV in my room.
See, when you told us this yesterday, it's like, how eerie is that? Just the fact is that the only time you're in a medically induced coma, but you wake up long enough to see on TV the funeral of your partner.
Mm-hmm.
Um, did it register for you at that time, or did you just sense it and then process it later? Were you awake long enough to actually understand what that meant?
I don't think I really did, because I was so out of it at that point. I remember when I started coming to a little bit, and I had that breathing tube in, and I couldn't communicate with anybody. And so my wife had just had our baby, and we're at the hospital, and she had to get a C-section and stuff. So we're there for a couple days longer. And it's the first kid, you try and do everything you can. And my wife, she wanted this like white cherry icy, and the only place they sold it was at Target, like across town. And so I went over there like every day and would get her this icy when she was in the hospital. I was taking care of her just 2 weeks ago, and now she's back at the hospital taking care of me. So when I start coming to, I'm so fucking thirsty. All I want to do is I want to like pound a Gatorade or something. And I'm like trying to tell them like I need water or something, but I have this, breathing tube in. So they bring me a piece of paper, and I'm like have the pen and the paper. They're kind of holding it for me because of my left arm is all wrapped up and stuff. And I'm just sitting there, and I could not like figure out how to write. I couldn't even do it. So I just end up getting, a little frustrated and kind of throw the pen to the side and go back to sleep for another day or two.
How did it feel having that breathing tube in? Because that's the reason that it's in there. It's doing the breathing for you at that point.
Yeah. So it wasn't too bad when they took it out. I just, obviously kind of scarred my lungs or my throat or my esophagus a little bit, and just had a really raspy voice for about a month.
Well, so now, did you come out of the coma, or did they bring you out of the coma? Did they decide it was time to bring you back out?
Yeah, they probably just backed off my medication a little bit, and then kind of came to, and then backed off on the pain meds and stuff like that.
How long were you in ICU?
A month. I was in ICU for a month.
What's your first full vivid memory you remember after waking up out of the coma?
I just remember I was there, and I'm kind of looking at everything, and I have this. So the way they did my leg, they were going to amputate my leg, but they were able to kind of do like a quick fix on it and kind of get it stable. So they had this. I had that whole like external fixator on it, and I had pins going all the way up, almost to like my waistline, all the way down, my knee, all the way to my ankle, and then with the long, bars on it, just a really weird, uncomfortable, can't move on my back position. So that I remember waking up to that, and then my brothers coming in, my mom and dad coming in, and then Jeremy King, he came in. I think he spent the entire month at the hospital with me, sleeping in the parking lot. I think our captain had to order him to finally go home. Yeah, but he was there.
Part of the brotherhood.
Yep.
Were you stable the whole time, or was there a time to where they thought they were going to lose you?
No, I don't think there was any question on that once I came out of that initial surgery. I think there was some concern just because they were doing so much stuff at once. They're operating on my face, my arm, and my leg, kind of all at the same time in this operating room. And then just the normal things like infection. A lot of my leg muscle died, like in my calf and stuff like that. So we'd have to go in there and get that cut out. And then it went back from, then it was just a concern. Again, I had a lot of nerve damage in my leg. So just the thought that I was going to lose my leg on that. And then there was a time when I thought I was going to lose my left arm as well. But the doctors are amazing. And my leg doctor, Dr. Laura Sharp, her younger brother is a LA County deputy, and she's freaking awesome and took this case really personal and knew from the second I woke up that I wanted to go back to work. And, she was going to do, she was like very honest and didn't give me any false hope, but, she was really committed to getting me back to where I wanted to go.
How old were you when this happened?
26.
That's a lot of shit to go through at 26.
Yeah.
Like because you just said earlier too, and most of us thought too when we were that young, we're 10 feet tall, we're bulletproof, we're invincible.
Yeah.
Nothing can hurt us.
Yep.
And I mean, you're in good physical shape. Did the doctors ever tell you that had a lot to do with your survival and your recovery?
Yeah, they did. Like I said, I was a big runner at the time. They said that had a lot to do with it. And then my age, just being young.
To all the cops out there listening, man, stay in shape. Stay in shape. We're old men now. My lower chest is bigger than my upper chest now, but I'm not on the job anymore either. So
Yep.
you guys stay in shape and take care of yourselves.
Well, I just did an hour on the Peloton this morning, man, staying in shape, some Power Zone pyramid training. So we're talking
You're
about
still
that.
as ugly as ever.
Yeah.
I love you, brother.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you traitorous bastard moving into Florida.
Yep.
How long was it before you got the full debrief on the events that happened? When were you officially told that your partner MacKay had died and that Dorner was behind all of? Or, I mean, what happened with Dorner? When were you kind of first officially briefed on this?
Yeah, I mean, they came. My buddies and my coworkers, my brothers and stuff. They came in the hospital and told me. I didn't know like the exact details of it until I was probably a month and a half. I was in the rehab hospital, and then the homicide detectives came over and interviewed me about everything that happened and kind of filled me in on some of the details.
What was the thing that for you was the most? I mean, you found out a lot of stuff after the fact, but you were there for a lot of this. You knew MacKay got shot. And then obviously, like I said, you woke up and you found he died. What were the biggest impacts to you on this whole situation? What were the events that impacted you the most out of this?
Obviously, MacKay losing his life. It's just losing somebody on this, a friend, and like I said, he was my firearms instructor at the academy. Where we worked together in Big Bear. He was a detective there. We drank beers together. I got a picture of me and him on our graduation night. We all went to a local bar together and having drinks and stuff. Just an awesome dude, and I knew he had a 3-month-old baby at home. Just horrible.
Were you able to travel then to Washington, D.C. for the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial when they did the candlelight vigil? Were you able to go out for that?
No, I wasn't.
So tell us how long it took before you could actually start doing things again. How long are you recuperating?
Oh yeah, so it was rough. I couldn't really do anything because I had all that stuff on my leg, and then but like I talked a little bit when we spoke yesterday. Just I was always focused on the next step.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of all we really thought about, and just trying to have a good attitude about it, and then focus on the first one was get out of the ICU. And then go to the rehab hospital, get out of the rehab hospital, and get home. So there was always, these little goals that we're getting back to, and then with the main goal of obviously getting back to work. I got home for a little bit, and then they, I'd have another surgery on my arm or my face or my leg, and then they eventually were able to come up with a plan how they're going to fix my leg, so that they took all the pins out and they wrecked reset, and then I was off of it for months. But as soon as I started walking again without using, and the walker was another issue because my left arm, was shot as well. So I had this walker with had like a little arm brace thing on it, and then I dropped foot really bad with the nerve damage. Couldn't move my toes, couldn't move my foot. So they built me this carbon fiber like brace with the insole that would go on my shoe, so I could start walking a little bit, and then just physical therapy a couple times a week.
One of the pictures we saw was you got to throw out a pitch at the Angels game.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Did you make it to home plate?
Oh yeah, I didn't throw from the mound. I didn't want to be disrespectful and put my walker track marks on the mound. Yeah, I think Jared Weaver was pitching that night, and he kind of scares me a little bit. So I'm like, I don't want to mess up mess up what he's got going on out there. So I threw it from at the front of the mound. But yeah, I made it over home plate.
That was so nice of them to do that too. Now, were the Angels your team, or did you just suck it up and put on their jersey just to get out there?
Oh no, Angels were my team. Yeah, my FTO, who was a detective up there at the time, my old FTO, Lonnie Siebert. He when he goes to spring training every year, and then he ended up was talking, sitting next to someone from the Angels, and was telling them the story because this was spring trainings in oh um, like
In the spring.
yeah, it's March. I'm trying to think the dates of it. Yeah, so it's probably like the middle of March. Yeah, so it was pretty. It was new. It was fresh, still in everyone's mind about everything that happened. So he tells him, telling him that he works Big Bear and knows me and stuff like that. So they ended up getting exchanging emails, and Lon, my old FTO, kind of set that whole thing up for me.
So how long were you into your recuperation when you went out there and threw out that pitch?
I think that was in might have been the end of July. I think. Yeah, I think that was the
So
end of
about
July.
5 months
Yeah,
in. Yeah.
but yeah, I look like shit. I'm so freaking skinny, and
Well, did they improve your looks though? That's all I want to know. What do you think? How did they do for you?
they did. When I see my face doctor, I was like, God damn! I go, you gave me a nice square jawline. Like, you made me look a lot better.
Well, does your wife agree?
I think so. I don't know. Yeah, but yeah, the only really problem I have with my like just the right side of my face is numb. So when I smile, like my lips don't move or that kind of thing.
Hey, let's talk for a minute about your family and how this impacted your wife. How did this impact her? Because you would have had to, obviously, by the time you get ready to come home, they've got to probably put some things in place for you. Some assistive things. So how did she handle this?
She handled it really good. I think a lot of, and like I said, we got this brand new baby, first time parents. I think a lot of her time was preoccupied with that, and then taking care of me and making sure I could get to my doctor's appointments and stuff like that. And then my family and I are really close, and then my sister-in-laws, obviously both my brothers are on the department stuff, so they very aware of what's going on. So everyone was a big help with that. But yeah, my wife was handled it very well, was really good with everything, and just took care of everything that I needed. But again, after being home for 7 months, I think she's getting kind of sick of me. So,
Ready for you to get back out, or she's
yeah.
good.
Oh
Hey,
yeah.
so did your brothers ever come up and have that talk with you? Like, I told you not to go. I'm going to kick your ass now.
Oh no, not at all. They knew. Yeah, it was just
But it's got to be tough on them. A couple of the pictures I saw, I see people around your bedside, and they're not totally sad looks, but they're not happy looks either. And it's like, I mean, I could see on your brother, and it was easy to figure out which ones are your brothers. It's just that look. It's like, man, I wouldn't know how to feel. I mean, it's like it's just got to be. It's like I know they're praying for you every day to get better and stuff, but it's tough. See, it has to be tough seeing your brother shot up like that, lying in a hospital bed, knowing how close you came to getting your ticket punched.
And you're wanting revenge is what you're wanting. You're wanting to retaliate because your brother was hurt, not your biological brother. But Dorner's already dead. Thank the good Lord. He's no longer walking on our earth. So it's how do I'm sure they're looking for some kind of mechanism to relieve those feelings, but you're the little brother, man, and they're there. You're your big brothers that are always looking to take care of you, and your wife, man. It takes a special woman to put up with the crap we go through, and this is just even worse than I could ever imagine going through what you went through. God bless her, she's a special lady.
yeah, absolutely. And then yeah, not giving me any grief about going back or anything like that. But yeah, it was hard. I mean, like my brothers, they worry about me. I remember my brother Matt would call me multiple times a day. Hey, y'all good? You eat all this other stuff, and that's why it was one of the big driving forces for me to go back to work. Was like, all right, cool. If I can get back there, at least light duty, and go sit in an office somewhere, I think it'll kind of like relieve everybody. Like, okay, he's getting better, he's good, he's back to work, and like we can kind of start moving on from
Did you
this.
get angry?
I try to have the best attitude that I could with everything. I was never I was never angry about what happened. Obviously, you're angry about MacKay losing his life, but there is nowhere else in the world that I would have rather been than where I was that day. I wanted to be there. I would have been pissed if I wasn't there, and now I can't have a bad attitude about it because it didn't go the way that I wanted it to go.
And here's a lesson for all our listeners. I mean, we all think we have our down points in our lives. The vast majority of us never have to go through what you went through. And the fact that you're setting little milestones that keep you encouraged, your little goals. And as soon as you reach one, you know what your next one is. And that kept you motivated. And there's a lesson right there, on never giving up.
Speaking of that, he was talking about low points. We talked about this yesterday. What was your lowest point in your recovery process? When did you hit rock bottom?
There was times like when I was at home, that obviously being young like that and now not being able to move or walk or all that other things. But prior to that, like I didn't really have any issues. Like, these guys risked their lives to save mine. MacKay lost his life. My family's going through this. Like having a shitty attitude is not going to help with anything. And me being pissed off isn't going to fix anything either. So it wasn't really, didn't make any sense to do that. But yeah, there would be days like, I'm all medicated and stuff like that where you feel like shit, or either, I go in for a surgery and then I'm throwing up because the anesthesia and all that stuff. But yeah, my low point didn't really hit until I came back to work, and then I kind of re-injured myself.
I mean, you re-injured yourself. Don't gloss over that. This was your dream. You always wanted to be on the SWAT, the Special Enforcement Division. I mean, this was your shot, right? So you were so anxious to get back, you might have pulled the trigger, no pun intended, a little too soon, right?
Yeah, so I came back light duty 7 months later, and then um, I think I it was like October 2014. I had gotten promoted, and then I had the opportunity to go through our SWAT school, which is 3 weeks long. We have it twice a year, every 6 months. Um, and I couldn't, when I started training again, to get back to work, I couldn't run just because all the nerve damage and stuff. So my brother Matt was really into cycling, and he's like, "Hey, I think if you," and I was drinking way too many milkshakes because my mouth was wired shut for so long. I was like, "Man, I'm getting fat. Like I gotta, I gotta do something." But it's just hard because you don't really think like how you're gonna lose weight. Like I can't move my leg. I'm not like how you gonna get active. So he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna bring my road bike over, and I think we can clip your feet in here, and you'll be able to cycle a little bit." So he brings his bike over to my house, clips my feet in there, and I'm like, "Oh shit!" So I'm riding around the street. I just couldn't get out of the pedals. I couldn't unclip. And also when I wanted to stop,
Fuck, let's hope you didn't fall over. You just went, I can't stop.
Yeah. So my brother Matt
That'd make you panic right there.
Yeah, he'd have to catch me a little bit just because I couldn't move my left foot to get out of the pedals or anything. But I ended up buying a road bike, doing that and cycling with my brothers, and then guys I was working with now, and it was kind of this whole like journey. Now before everything, I was focused on like work and doing this and getting to this position. I was like, all right, cool, I'm gonna like take this as far as I can go and get back, back and do all this other stuff. So that really helped. Was awesome. I love cycling now. I always used to make fun of my brother for doing it and the guys wearing the all the spandex stuff. But
Steve, Murph, are you listening, Murph? Are you listening?
I'm still making fun. I'm listening, and I'm still gonna make fun of you.
No, but I bought all in. I went all into the cycling thing.
Yeah, my man.
I love it. Yeah.
You know what a mammal is? What they call a mammal? Middle-aged male in Lycra.
Yeah. So I started doing that, and then I started running, and this because I knew this opportunity a couple months prior was going to come up that I was going to could possibly do the go through our SWAT school. So I started running, and then I'm like, I had my old Nike track of this little route I'd run at my house, and then I'm like doing it, and then I start looking at my times from prior to me getting shot. I'm like, fuck, I run faster now than I did before. Because before I never
Bionic man.
Yeah, before I was just running to run. Just like, all right, cool, I'm gonna run 3 miles before work or something like that. Never gave a shit about my pace, never about my time, didn't have that mental strength. I know some people are born with it. I had to go through this to get it. Now I'm like, I just kind of became obsessed with it. And luckily I had a good partner. His name's Tim Jackson, who I worked with, another guy from my academy and my brothers. And now we had this whole training team. It was kind of cool, and they went along with it with me. So sorry to go on a tangent on that one, but yeah. So I getting ready for SWAT school. I think it was 2 weeks before. I'm running it at our academy, and I was off my leg for so long, and my you know my bones are weak. I have to run all crazy because I can't really lift my left foot up, and I end up digging my foot into the dirt, and I end up breaking my foot. 2 weeks before I start the SWAT school, which was my end goal, like all I ever wanted to do. One of the main things I thought in the hospital, like I'm never, not only going to come back to work, I'm not going to be able to do this. It was just, and not only that, but now these guys that are on this team had saved my life, which made me want to do it, 10 times more than before. And
So did you know you broke it at the time?
no, I thought I was trying to convince myself. I was running with a couple of my
It's all
partners.
swelling up and it hurts, but no, it's just a flesh wound. I'll be fine.
So we're running. They're actually running with me, I'm like, oh fuck, and I heard it snap in there, and I'm like, fucking a, and I was like, I'm trying to walk, and they're like, what's wrong? I was like, oh, I don't know, I think I like pulled something in my foot. So
Yeah, like a bone from a joint. That's what you pulled.
yeah. So I start, I walk on it a little bit, and I'm like, man, this is jacked up. I was like, I'm just gonna walk back to the cars. I think we're like maybe like 2 miles in at that point. And then one of the guys like, no, you're not walking. And he's like, so he ran back, got the cars. We end up going back to work. I start trying to walk around the office a little bit. I'm like, man, this fucking is starting to really hurt. So I called my leg doctor, and I knew she was going to be pissed because I had to get cleared from her to even go through SWAT school. She had to give me the okay on it just so that um, they knew my leg wasn't going to freaking explode or anything, uh, repellent or whatever. But she was really not on board with it until I, convinced her for like 30 minutes just to like give me this one shot to do it. So I called her, we do the x-rays, and she's like, I told you, dummy, like you broke your foot. Um, so I was back at home, not going to be able to make it through the SWAT school. It was just, I was off work again, going up the stairs on my butt. It was just, it brought me back to where I was like, 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. This brought back a lot of probably things I didn't deal with the first time. And but I was just feeling sorry for myself. But that was probably my lowest point. And then that lasted, I think, over the weekend. And then on that Monday, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to stay in this position. I think I can get better, and I'm going to try it again in 6 months and heal up, which I probably should have done in the first place. I actually probably should have waited another year after going through the SWAT school and stuff. I think I probably should have waited at least another year before I even attempted that.
Yeah, because we know patience is one of your virtues
I know,
there when
right?
you applied for the academy before you were supposed to.
Yeah.
I'm 16 years old. I'm just getting my application in early, pal.
Yeah.
And so when you went and tried out for the SWAT team a second time, did you make it?
I did, yeah. Hardest 3 weeks of my life. But yeah, I loved it. It was such a relief. And I remember the day we graduated on that third Friday, and I was going to meet my team. We were doing some operation out in Arizona, and I remember driving out there, and it was kind of like this relief, like this like weight had been taken off my shoulders, that I didn't have to. It was like a conclusion to this whole event, and then
So brought you some closure to the entire shooting event.
absolutely, and then now after that, I'm like, fuck. I was like, I need to find something else because that's all I've thought about for the past like you know two 2 years is doing this. And I'm like, what am I going to do now? So yeah.
See, that's the thing with astronauts. They go, once you land on the moon, it's like, what's next? I mean, so from the time you were shot till the time you graduated squat school. That's Murphy down in Florida. SWAT school. What was that, like 2 years? A little over?
Yeah, so I got shot in was it February 2013,
2013?
and then I graduated SWAT school in April of 2015.
Did you ever think you were going to make it to do that? I mean, I know in your mind, but when you were sitting there and stuff, did you just think, this is it, my dream's gone, I'm just going to be sitting in an office somewhere doing light duty for the rest of my career?
Yeah, I mean, they thought there was like no way I was going to ever come back to work. I remember I was like kind of like getting ready to come back, like looking into making some phone calls about what it's going to take for me to come back light duty, and then I remember I was telling my physical therapist about it, and he's like, dude, there's no way like you're ever going to be a cop again. Like he's like I don't think you're going to be able to like ever run or like walk, normally like that.
There's a great motivational person.
Yeah, and that's a lot of I mean, like a lot of those doctors and stuff. They kind of like shoot straight with you on that stuff too. Like I don't know what the reasoning is behind it. But yeah, that's why he's like, yeah, you're probably never gonna like be able to do that kind of stuff again.
So
And
do
I
you
was,
send them a fucking Christmas card going, "Hey, here's me not doing what you said I couldn't do. Here's me doing what you said I couldn't
yeah,
do."
I don't know if that's what it was like, or like he didn't want me to do too much because I remember a couple times like I was in the wheelchair and then um I remember I went in there with the walker a couple times. And he's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "You can't like walk on your leg yet." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." Like I forgot, you know. And then like, yeah, because it was a pain in the ass. Like, because I remember I went there and my wife had the baby a couple times, so I'd have to go in there, you know, get the wheelchair out, and I could walk on it a little bit. It wasn't too bad. And we're just going from the parking lot in there. I'm like, I'm not getting that stupid ass wheelchair out. So and then, but yeah, so he'd make me get wheeled out to my car by one of the nurses or whatever. But so he's probably trying to keep me in line so I wouldn't try and go run on it or something.
When people said things like that, do you want to say, "Hold my beer"?
Dude,
Yeah,
I've been shot 5 times. I've done all of this. Don't that's the thing. It's like, don't tell me I can't do it. I mean, here's somebody you weren't just where you were shot and how you were shot. And now you've done Ironmans.
yeah. So again, like once I had that SWAT school thing kind of out of the way, I was like, you're always looking for like I don't know, that kind of stuff is just like straight self punishment. But it's the only thing I can compare it about like is getting shot and going through that and building that mental toughness is doing you know those endurance type of events. So we were doing that stuff and you know we were cycling and running and then I started doing like our Baker to Vegas team which it's like a big law enforcement event out here it's a relay race where you run from like Baker into Las Vegas. So I ended up doing that. I ended up qualifying for like our department's like elite team, our fast team, and started running on that. And then my partner and I, we're super competitive. So I don't know if you use this app. It's called Strava.
Yeah, I do that with my bike all the time. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So we're on Strava, and me and my buddy Tim. So we're working together, and we're running, and we're cycling, and doing all this stuff, and like we were trying to like it was this went on for probably like 3 years of us being competitive about who's going to get the most mileage, who has the fastest time, and then Strava has these like PRs for these routes, so we're out there like battling each other, and luckily in the division that we're at, we got a workout, we got an hour workout time in the morning and stuff, so we go run or do whatever, and then after work we go ride bikes, and again like we love drinking beer too, so it was just an excuse to go
Hey, no, and it's not an excuse. You got to carb up. If it's perfectly acceptable to drink beer when you're out bike riding. It's carbs. You got to
yeah,
get them carbs.
yeah, for sure. We actually, yeah, we just kind of started this kind of training, this training company, maybe some apparel and stuff. We just kind of started it, but it's called Earn It Athletics, and
It's called what? What's the name of it again?
it's called Earn It Athletics.
Earn
Uh,
It Athletic. Is it like earnitathletics.com? We're going to give you a shout out here. Help us.
Yeah.
You suck at marketing, pal. Just come
well,
on.
we just kind of started it. We just kind of launched the Instagram thing. We're getting some apparel made, but so we'd always say that like we're gonna go drink some beers. Say we're gonna drink some beers after work. It's
But
like
we're
all
going to
right,
earn it.
we're gonna earn it. So it's like, dude, we got to at least run a 5K if we're gonna do that. Then so we fucking put our running shoes on and go run. Then we go, you know, to the restaurant and have some beers and stuff, or go for a bike ride. And then so yeah, it was like if we're gonna do that, we're gonna do some sort of bike ride or run or something
To
like
earn
that.
it.
Yep.
Well, do you have a website yet?
No, not yet. We started our Instagram stuff and
So
um,
what's your Instagram handle?
oh geez, I'm gonna have to look it up.
Oh, I'm gonna have to work with you on how it works in the private world here. And it's like you got to have these things. If we're going to market your apparel for you, help toss me a bone here.
We just launched it like probably like 4 days ago. Yeah, but it's Earn It Athletics, and it's got our logo on there, and then a thing of me and my buddy Tim there. But yeah, we
Say that slowly.
okay.
What's it called?
EARNIT Athletics.
Yep.
So what we'll do is when we post this, and we'll post it on our Instagram too, we'll tag you on it and stuff. And but we want to get the special. We want to get the special Alex Collins. I want my face to look better shirt. So
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, it was a total, like, that's what I was focused on. That's what I was doing. And it was cool to have these guys, go along it the way with me doing that.
All right, tell me what does your picture look like on there?
It's got our logo on there. It's like a blue, looks like a shield.
EA?
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's two others on here, and one looks like a girl's butt.
No,
that could be. You never know. You got to earn that too, Murph.
So we're following. Look at there.
Yeah.
All right, you got new followers.
Awesome.
Yeah. We'll follow. So, hey, you know what? We're getting towards the end of this, but I want to ask you just a couple. These are more serious questions because it's tough. I've lost friends, Murph's lost friends, but to lose a partner out there with you like that, that's just, I can't even imagine. So I'm not even going to say I understand what you feel. Don't have any idea. How do you handle that every February 13th? What do you do, and how have you dealt with this too?
So pretty much it's just on February 13th, I, again, talk to my brothers, and then every year, I think on the 7th, Officer Crane's brother, Jason, he has a party at a restaurant every year to celebrate his brother's life. So we all meet up out there and get together and have some drinks. And then normally me and Danny Rosa and Larry Lopez will go get dinner and have drinks on the 13th. But with that, I mean, like with MacKay losing his life, it's just, again, this opportunity for me to go and talk about this. I do talk to every graduating class of our academy and do this. And that was something I didn't mention. When I went through the academy, Jason Hendricks, he was my TAC officer. He's still in the department, but he was in a really bad shooting. I think it was in, gosh, he's going to kill me, but I've heard his story like 100 times, but I think it was like in the late 90s, 96, 97. And he was shot, I think, 8 times with a 9mm. He was at Circuit City shopping with his wife. And then one of the clerks, her ex-husband, came in and tried to pull her out of the store at gunpoint. He confronted him and ended up getting shot 8 times in a gun battle with the guy. So Jason was shot really bad, and he came back to work. And then when I went through the academy, he was my TAC officer. And I remember seeing him, and we had really similar leg injuries. And this guy was probably in his mid to late 30s when he was a TAC officer, and he is outrunning all of us. And I'm, 21 years old, and this freaking dude is got a jacked up leg, like his leg is crooked just because with all the surgeries and stuff. And he's out there, smoking us. So, and he came and visited me at the hospital, sat with me, talked with me, and was like a huge motivating factor to get me back to work and then to where I am today. And then again, I can talk to the academy and hopefully and share that message with them as well.
What is your big message for the academy when you talk to these guys? What is the primary message you talk to them about?
I just kind of tell them the story and just again, staying in shape, working out, training, tactics. I mean, we saw the guys that had the extra training and the tactics, how they immediately went into action, knew what to do, didn't even think about it. It was like second nature. And then, when I went back to work, or when I went back to patrol and I ended up getting into that other shooting, it was just, again, I had these extra tactics, this training where it's just like this muscle memory. You don't even think about it. You just do it. About how, like, to never stop doing that. And then, when I went back to patrol as a sergeant, being in that supervisor position, it was cool that I've been through all this stuff and I can get with these guys and, meet with them before work and we work out or go for a run or do something just so that, you never lose that.
Yeah, you're being a motivating factor for them. They're thinking, well, hell, if he can get through all this and he's still doing this, there must be some reason. There's a good reason.
And they look at you and they go, man, look at that jaw. That looks like a Hollywood jaw, man.
So, have you added any more members to your family since the shooting?
Yeah, I have 2 more kids and my daughter. Alexa, she's 6, and then my youngest, Bo, he's 4.
Nice.
And who's the oldest?
Benjamin.
Benjamin, Alexa, and Bo.
Yep.
All right. Well, they've got some huge footsteps to follow in too. Look, we had talked about going into some other stories, but look, we have gone so long on this. And the other thing too is, I don't want to take away from this story by getting into some others. We'll bring you back for those. We'll talk about that later. If you're up to it, we'll fly out. We'll have a beer. We'll do it on the ground. Murph, we may get dragged out to the Southern California gang conference out there. So
I'll be there. Hopefully I'll see you guys there.
Oh, you're going to be there?
Yeah.
Cool. So let's just go ahead and plan right now. We're going to do a podcast interview with it because
we're gonna record an on the ground episode, and we're gonna cover some of the other things you talked about. But I want to honor your story, and I don't want to take away from it by talking about some other, because there's some. Look, you lost another friend, got into a pretty serious shooting, but this one I think stands in and of itself. This is just a huge lesson for people, and I got to tell you, man. As we close this out, I didn't know where I was going to go with some of this stuff today. I mean, we had just had this call yesterday. Normally, Murph and I have time to do research, but your notes and stuff and the stuff you talk about, and your pictures and everything, it's just easier just to let you tell your story. And I got to tell you, this is, they can't say it. This is me saluting you, brother. I mean, I can't tell you. We are always proud of the people we bring on, but for you to do what you did, to survive the way you did, man. Other people just would have, phoned it in and said, "Hey, I'm done. That's it. Quit." And you didn't. And not only did you not quit, you came back and accomplished every single goal you were wanting to do without the need of getting shot. You didn't have to get shot to get on SED. Did anybody tell you that?
Yeah, but in addition to that, you're now in a leadership role, and you're taking on a true leadership role in which you're motivational to the younger guys that are coming up, and they need to see that. And they need to understand that just because you get shot doesn't mean you're going to die. Mm-hmm. I mean, look at everything you're doing, man. This is after having Joe Piersanti on here. I mean, he just made my freaking day, and now having you on here. I mean, this is just some of the best interviews we're doing, man.
Joe gets shot through the head, and he stands up. He wants to walk off the helicopter, and they're no, lay the fuck down. Don't. And he got shot with the 7.62.
Yeah,
it was fucking Taliban, and these 7.62 machine guns that they had out there. So.
Yep.
And on top of everything else, he's a world-class bodybuilder.
He just won the national competition. There's something you see in there. Here's the thing. Last point. What I think what you're talking about is that this is. Do you ever read David Goggins? You Can't Break Me. But you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? We are capable of so much more than what we can do 90% more than what our brain tells us we can.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think that was you. I mean, you came back and you did that 90% more. I mean, did you think sitting with that breathing tube in there that you were going to be on SED, that you were going to be a sergeant, that you're going to be running Ironman, that you're going to, I mean, it's hard to think those things when you got a breathing tube down there and you're in and out of consciousness.
Yeah, it doesn't even seem achievable at that time, yeah.
Well, look, we are so proud. We're glad that you're here.
Absolutely.
We want to honor the memory of Detective MacKay, and we will absolutely do that. We say a toast to him tonight. And I got to apologize too. I didn't mean to get so wrapped around the axle, but man, when I see it just fucking stolen valor as far as I'm concerned, people who do this stuff, and it's like the real heroes are Rosa and Lopez and Musa, and I mean, fucking Rangers lead the way. You ask Army guys, these guys that get out there and do this shit, the people on the helicopters, the ER doc, the people who did all this stuff, man. But I'll tell you, some of the biggest heroes besides you and your wife, for
absolutely.
I mean, people forget how important it is to have that wife standing by your side. So you haven't even told us her name.
Lila.
Yeah. Lila if you're listening to this, Lila, if you've made it this far and not passed out from pure boredom, you're a rock star. We're sending you beer, pal. What does she drink?
She likes Modelo.
Modelo. I thought IPA and Modelo. I got to send you some real beer. Fuck this. I'm sending you some real beer. Just watch your, it's not it's going to come in a brown package, but it's legit. Trust me. Right.
It's probably going to be like PBR or something, Alex.
No, I drank enough of that in college, man. Old Milwaukee Light and old Moosehead, man. You're going to get some real beer. None of this cheap IPA stuff. And I'm
Oh,
I'm going to get some haters. Going to get some haters. Well, hey, look, Alex, let's close this off. And I think just what I want to do is just give you the last word. What's the biggest thing you have learned from everything that happened? From the loss of life, from the shooting, from the incident. What's the big thing for you that is the biggest thing that you will never ever that will never leave you for the rest of your life?
I don't know if it's a good thing or not, but just kind of once you go through this, like the little things don't really matter. Especially going back to work, it's just I don't get frustrated with these little issues or anything like that. I kind of brush stuff off, like, all right, like I'm not gonna lose sleep over this or get upset about this. Sometimes that's good and sometimes it's bad, like when you don't really, I don't know, when you live one day at a time. But it seems to be working for me all right, but I told my buddy the other day, I'm like, it's like, hey, you can't fear death so you can live free.
Man. Well, except if your guys need OT, right? That's the only
I
that's
know,
what
yeah,
this
I have like 20 missed text messages right now. So
All right,
yeah.
well look, man. Well, let's bring this to a close. This has been an honor and we're so glad you shared this time with us.
All right. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Absolutely, Alex.
Thank you.
No, brother, thank you
All
so
right.
much. God bless you.
All right. I'll see you guys in San Diego.
Man, all I can say is if this doesn't make you reevaluate your priorities in life, and like he said, his biggest takeaway is he doesn't sweat the small stuff anymore. It just does not matter.
You're exactly right, man. And that's that spoke volumes to me in my personal life because you get caught up in the little minutia throughout the day, the little stupid things that you think are important. And then you look at what people are going through out there and they're fighting for their lives and their friends are being killed. And it just puts everything back into proper perspective. And one of the things I really liked about Alex's story is the fact that Dorner applied for LAPD. He never made it through probationary period, which is a good indication that the system is working, that they're using to weed out these wackadoos that are, what were his ulterior motives? Did he just want to join the cops to become a murderer? Because when he didn't make it in the cops, that's what he became. It's just fantastic story, Alex. Thank you so much, brother. It's an honor to have you on the show here.
Well, and look, the other thing too is think about what he went through, the rehab, and then here's a guy they number one didn't expect to make it. Then number two, he made it, but then they didn't expect him to go back to work, and then he went back to work, but they didn't expect him to make SWAT, and then he made SWAT. It's like this guy would not let anything now stop him.
Yeah, don't put restrictions on him because he's going to blow him right out the door with you. I love it.
Yeah, and let's close the loop on the piece of shit that is Chris Dorner. So Chris, he was killed. He suffered, I think, the right kind of death. He burned to death in that house up there, and as deservedly so. This guy had no. And here's the part that bothers me too, Steve. Here's somebody who did serve our country, but he wasn't serving it in the way it should have been done. This guy had no respect for human life, and just again, it makes me wonder, was he doing anything in his naval side that somebody should have keyed in on to prevent this from happening? I mean, we don't know, and we're not second guessing. All we're saying is that there were obviously indications there, but when he lost his appeal and he got out, everything seems to spring from February 1st when he punched out of the Navy. Everything started after that. So he'd been planning this for a while. But anyway, this
Absolutely.
well, and the other thing too, we didn't tell people. We'll have some additional stories with Alex. He was involved with the San Bernardino terrorist attack that killed 13 people. He responded to that. He unfortunately lost another one of his partners. They switched shifts, and this guy was working for him as a sergeant instead of him. Got into a chase, shot and killed, and then he was in this epic shootout with a semi truck. Somebody who was some very dangerous stuff. So, but we may do that when we're down at the Southern California Gang Conference. Get some additional stories, and he had so many stories we just could not tell him and do the main story honor.
Absolutely. And so you're going to be hearing about Alex again. And there's even more that we're going to tell you about. We're going to keep it a secret now, probably this summer or summer of next year, I guess it would be, right? But he's coming back, man. He's got some great stories.
We're going to do some good stuff. So anyway, hey folks, if you enjoyed that and if you enjoyed the work we're doing, head on over to Apple, get that 5 stars. It's magic. We don't know how it works. We just know that it does. It's David Copperfield, David Blaine, Harry Houdini, name it, your favorite magician, it all works. Also head on over to gameofcrimespodcast.com. We've got so much information about the show, pictures, everything. We're constantly updating it. Follow us on this thing they call social media at Game of Crimes on Twitter, at Game of Crimes Podcast on Facebook and the Instagram. PayPal.com, use our email, gameofcrimespodcast@gmail.com or paypal.me/Game of Crimes. Whatever it makes it easier for you to support the show and help us bring you more content. And then again, as always, patreon.com/Game of Crimes. That's where you need to be. We got so much good content there. We've got new stuff coming out. Case of the month, our weekly or a monthly live stream. This time it's going to be the Big Lebowski. And Steve holding up his finger. I'm not sure if he needs to fart again or if he wants to say something.
Hey, it just hit me. Christmas is coming up, guys. So what about giving, those you care about a subscription, a Patreon subscription to Game of Crimes, or maybe go over to the merchandise page and order up some Game of Crimes merchandise for those you love. Good stuff.
Which would be us. So remember, tell one, share one. Tell one person, share one episode with them. Give them the gift of Game of Crimes, and we will give you the gift of us.
And don't ever pull my finger if I hold it up.
I'll tell you a story about that next time, what my daughter did to me when she was young in public. But enough for now. So guys, hey, we just want to thank you guys again, those folks who are players on Patreon, everybody who's listening to this episode. These stories are just amazing. We want to thank everybody. So thank you guys once again for playing the biggest, baddest, most dangerous game of all, the Game of Crimes.